I think we probably should, so I know if the mayor has to leave and I've got another 3 o'clock myself, so let's go ahead and get started if that's okay.
That's
So,
great.
welcome those online with us. I think this is an online meeting today. Today is Thursday, September 11th, 2025. This is the Wasatch Front Economic Development District meeting for today. I'm Gage Floor, Commissioner Gage Floor. I'll be conducting this morning. Obviously, we have my Vice Chair, Commissioner Mayor Nguyen with us, and Marcia White is with us. Let's start off with introductions and our consent agenda. So I turn the time over to Andrea Peterson to read the names of the people who are online, and then action items on the minutes after that.
Okay, on our WFEDD meeting today, we have Marcia White, Andrea Pearson, Mayor Nguyen, Commissioner Floor, Marion Florence, Jason Godfrey, Bert Granberg, Commissioner Fackrell, Meg Padgen, Jordan Chandler, Nick Fritz, Tim Watkins, Sarah Tolliver, Jake Maxwell, Mike Moore, Madison Aviles, Chris Roybal, Gwen Kervin, John A. Nardone, Bryce Wartspaw, Greg Bisping, Chanel Flores, Kirsten Swinyard, Sarah Lawless, Sean Milne, and David Sawyer.
Great. Thank you, Andrea, for that. If anybody else comes on, and just let us know if they want to introduce themselves, that'd be great as well. Okay, with that, let's go to our next action item, which is the minutes of the meeting held on June 12th, 2025 recently. I'd look for a motion. If everybody's read those, any changes, corrections? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve those minutes as submitted.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion. We have a second?
Second.
Second. Thank you very much. All those in favor, please say aye.
My apologies, I missed the second.
Oh, who did the second?
This is Sean. I did, but I also heard a female voice and I can defer to her.
We'll give it to Sean. I keep him around longer, so let's do that. Okay, Sean's the second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you. Any opposed? I'm going to rule the motion carries. Minutes are approved as submitted. Andrea, let's go now to the chair report. I'm not going to take a long time this afternoon, but I would like to just take a moment for a couple things. This being 9/11, I think most of us on this call were there when that took place, remembering the 2,977 individuals that were killed on that date back quite a while ago. Seems like yesterday, but it wasn't. And at the same time, I think it's proper to recognize Charlie Kirk, that was just recently assassinated in UVU. Unfortunately, that's more and more prevalent in our society. I would hope that, as the governor talked about, that we could change the dialogue to be a little less hateful, a little more compatible. And I don't know how that's going to take place, but I would sure hope and pray that would take place. So with that, Marcia, let's go to public comment. Or Andrea, anybody online, members of the public that would like to have an opportunity to speak, we would ask you take no more than 2 minutes, but now you have the opportunity to discuss before the committee.
Commissioner, I don't see anyone with hands raised.
No hands raised. Thank you, Andrea. Let's go.
I was just going to note that Mayor Mon has joined us and Sherry Stevens.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Andrea. Okay, let's go on to the financials. Wasatch Front Economic Development financials. We have with us Marion Florence, who's the WFRC Chief Financial Officer, and would like to give us a progress report on the financials, which is a requirement under the Economic Development EDA administration. Just give us a brief update on the EDA funding and the activity that we are seeing from the Wasatch Front Economic Development Districts. So, and then after Marion's done, we will turn some time over to Marcia, introduce our progress report. So, Marion, are you with us?
I am. Thank you so much. So I'll give you a
Go
brief
ahead.
report. Similar to last year, our WFED finances are a discrete section of the WFRC budget. So the WFRC budget is the umbrella. But I'll report to you today just briefly on that WFEDD specifically. We are currently operating on a 3-year planning grant that started on April 1st of 2023. The total funds for that grant are $420,000, which are split evenly between federal funds and local match funds. We're almost finished with the current cycle, and we're on track to spend all the funds as planned. Our expenses are primarily staff time and some consulting help that we used to make the CEDS. Marcia and I do meet monthly with the EDA to report on our progress, and we also report regularly with both finance and progress reports, which Marcia will talk about. And I, of course, make our regular reimbursement requests. So that is the finance report. If there's any questions, I'm happy to entertain them here, or at any time, I'm happy to take emails or calls.
Thank you very much. Any questions that Marion can answer for you for those people online? Appreciate it, Marion. Thank you very much.
Thank
So
you.
let's move now to Marcia's progress report. Marcia, I see you pulling something up there. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Commissioner. So this is long overdue to getting to you. Interestingly enough, I'll just give you a little background on. I don't know if there's changes going on at a federal level, but some of the items that we have tracked in prior years are not being tracked any longer. So it was difficult for me to do some of the updates of the dashboard, although I know Better City has helped get some of that information, but it's still fairly old, 2022, 2023 data. So instead of doing a dashboard update, I thought I would try to give you a progress report. And part of that has to do with, can you hear me okay? Yep, okay. So part of that has to do with how we're doing with what we're doing and how we're doing. And then just a quick brief overview. You know, our mission has always been to support that economic development, promote long-term economic competitiveness, and then really trying to attract federal monies in order for you or to help you implement the local plans. When we did the comprehensive economic development strategy, we tried to shift our focus a little more to, and if you remember, we tried to shift our focus to both two things, outputs as well as outcomes. And so our 4 key strategies, or 4 key anchors, if you will, were city and town centers, economic development capacity, that human capital development, and then the diverse business environment. As you know, and most likely know, WFRC works mostly in the city and town center realm and a little bit in the economic development capacity realm. And we're helping and supporting those that are in the other 2 key anchors, but you'll see that as we go forward. One of the things that I really want to talk about, you've seen us over the last 2 or 3 times talk to you a lot about the Wasatch Choice vision and how the Wasatch Choice vision will help implement, or it's that shared vision between communities that are looking at transportation, they're looking at development patterns, we're looking at economic opportunities and trying to bring that into what we're calling the Wasatch Choice vision, and trying to figure out how to create these city and town centers that actually will help move all of that in a positive direction. So hopefully you'll see that as I go through some of the things. These are more of these output driven impacts, but I just wanted to highlight some of them. The first one is promoting city and town centers, and why it matters, because we know that if we create these vibrant city and town centers, that it will support those local businesses, that it will reduce the sprawl, that it will help with strengthening your community by having walkable communities, by having efficient land uses, by bringing jobs to certain areas, helping with infrastructure and reducing costs around infrastructure. So last year we held a series of technical workshops, Wasatch Choice Vision workshops. Many of you were probably part of those workshops. We sat down with big maps and talked about where development was going to happen, where they each of the communities thought maybe new neighborhood centers or city centers were going to happen. And so those workshops really promoted a change in our outlook on city and town centers. Just a few other things. We also, and you'll hear later from Meg, but we awarded $1.8 million in our TLC funding to communities, helping them from that maybe that small area that they want to implement so that they can make it a neighborhood center. And so really helping them try to figure out how to look at their small area plan and implement those. And so really out working with local communities and taking it not just from concept, but to implementation. We saw, because of these workshops, we saw 108 new centers. So that was a 57% increase from 2023 to 2025. So communities are really looking at how to bring these new centers into light and trying to figure out how to do just that, trying to bring it all in and together. And then the other piece that we are out working in several, oh gosh, sorry about that, making y'all sick. We had $810,000 in funding to communities around station areas, and trying to figure out how to bring housing and really trying to figure out how to bolster maybe the areas around front runner stations in areas. I'm trying to think, there's some of you that don't have front runner stations, so it's sometimes hard for you to think that that's ever going to be a reality, but hopefully one day it may be. The other area that we touch on, or that WFRC or the WFED touches upon, is really this: how do we bring economic development capacity using grant funding? And although we didn't do grant facilitation exactly, one-on-one, but we had, the Apex group come in and talk to us about what they're doing and how they're doing with grant funding and how we can be part of that. There's an economic development technical advisory group that we're trying to get going and trying to get started to from each of the counties to try to reach out and say, okay, what can we do and how can we be helping with those counties and then down into the cities and towns. And so really working kind of at a, kind of more of a hub and spoke, so we can be, really touching a lot more people than just one person or 5 people. So, and you'll see that, although we didn't put on workshops, we actually attended, I attended quite a few economic development workshops throughout the year. Some of these other things, even though we don't do it, Talent Ready has been out doing a lot of human capital development. We know that a strong workforce is the only way to be able to continue to do and to watch our economy grow. These are stats from Talent Ready Utah. And they're really working at trying to figure out how to bring not your traditional, maybe educational workforce, but trying to figure out how to bring these micro credentials into the cities and towns, and try to figure out how to bolster their direct workforce. And then the last thing is this diverse business environment, which is really important, not just because it matters to the business environment, but it matters to the cities and towns and counties that are really trying to work at bringing in economic development. Because without the workforce, without higher paying jobs, without the job increases, it won't ever support the local businesses. So you want to grow your economic ecosystem within your cities and towns, counties, what happens is if you don't have the wage growth and you don't have the ability to have those jobs and the people that are there to use them, then it's not working altogether, and it's not making up for, or not showing a good outcome for your communities. And so hopefully bringing all of these together will start to drive that economic engine or that economic ecosystem that city and town centers are trying to do. So what I was going to tell you is that I have an actual progress report all put together, and as part of the packet, as we send it out, we'll send out this report as well. With that, any questions for me that I may or may not be able to answer?
Any questions for Marcia? Marcia, great report. Now's your time to ask. Not seeing any hands go up, Andrea, unless you are, unless you do.
No, I do not.
Okay, thanks for that report, Marcia. Appreciate it, Ann Marion, giving us the financial picture. So let's go now to our, Marcia talked about our city and town centers. Tim Watkins, the WFRC community planner, gave a good presentation to our council meeting here a week or so ago on town centers. And I think, as everybody understands, city and town centers are a key component, key anchor of the community economic development strategy that we've been talking about for the last year or so. And so understanding how these town centers might be built in existing communities is really essential for our growing state and growing communities. And I think Tim has some good background, some good ideas as far as what's worked and what will work. So I'm going to turn some time over to Tim to really give his presentation. It may be the same presentation we saw before, but I think you'll be able to understand the importance of these city and town centers after Tim's presentation. So Tim, you want to go ahead?
Sure, and thank you very much. It's great to be with you all. And what I'd like to touch on today is what we call a tour. And sorry, I'm just adjusting a few screen settings here so I can read everything to share with you. Okay, so I'd like to just call this a virtual tour of a new city and town center resource. It's a new website with new visual tools and information to support communities in bringing about their centers. The centers take a lot of work. They take time. They take coordination, partnerships, and these tools are intended to support the many efforts that take place to provide these places. With that, I'd also like to provide a little bit of context for the Wasatch Choice vision, and then touch on key ingredients of a center and how we've pulled not just our region, but the entire state to understand what types of centers and what key ingredients of a center are desired, and then to help visualize how they all come together. And then I'll take you on the tour of the centers menu website, and then we'll look at some of the beneficial impacts of centers to conclude. So here's our blueprint for the future that's built on the local plans and visions of communities across our region, the Wasatch Choice vision. And you see the brighter colors are the centers, ranging from metro, urban, city center, or neighborhood center. And in 2024, we went through a significant process to update the centers and the land use vision, these being regionally significant land uses. And there was an update from 2023 to our current 2025 update. And it looks out to the year 2055 of what land uses and employment areas or mixed use areas and how they relate to the transportation needs and inform the regional transportation plan, which is in process of being updated. And what we found through that process was that there is a growing interest in centers and a desire to see them take root and grow. And so what you're looking at is a total of planned or existing or evolving centers or vision for centers that's grown from 221 in 2023 to nearly 400 in 2025, which is incredible. And this total represents the Wasatch Front Regional Council area, as well as the Mountain Land Association of Government area. These are some of the images that have been on the Wasatch Choice vision representing the different scale of centers. There's 4 types of centers featured in the Wasatch Choice vision. Again, I mentioned neighborhood center at a kind of a lower moderate scale, city center, urban center starts to become more intense and more of a regional draw, and metro centers, which are central to the broader region, and other significant land uses. So let's talk about what makes centers unique and how they really help to create access to opportunities and bring where people live, homes and families closer to the city. And in so doing, I'd like to just mention that Wasatch Front Regional Council had the opportunity to apply for funding from the Utah Land Use Training Fund, which is administered through the Property Rights Ombudsman's Office. And the criteria to receive that funding is that it should represent state statutes, land use laws and codes, and also be applicable statewide. And so for this project to be applicable statewide, we looked at what centers are, how they're defined and the different scales and how they might be depicted visually with a Mixed Use Centers Advisory Committee. And you see the representation here is across the entire state of Utah. And we dove a little further deeper into the 3 key ingredients of centers, which are that the center is walkable, it has a mix of uses, and that it is more intense than the surrounding. We acknowledge that centers are unique to the community and that they can vary in each community, and some communities have different economic development opportunities or realities associated with them. So I just want to share briefly a few of the questions that we asked of our committee. Let me correct myself there. We worked with the committee to create a survey that was then sent around the state to planners or planning representatives across the entire state. And we received 80 responses to inform the creation of these visual resources. So here's a key question that I think relates to some of the economic development aspects. And that is there a central gathering place with retail or entertainment destinations that you would invite out-of-town guests? And nearly a third said yes, but the majority said no, that they don't have that type of central gathering place. And we created these questions for communities large and small. So if a community answered that they were less than 10,000 population, then they were given this image set of different building types, asking them what is the desired characteristics of a center, but they were given mixed use buildings that were smaller scale and achievable in more of a rural, smaller community context. And similarly, what types of buildings might support a flexible ground floor use? That maybe in a mixed use area, the conditions are not quite ripe for a retail business or an office to go into the ground floor. And maybe it needs to be residential for a little while. And so we built that flexibility into this visualization survey to inform the creation of these graphics. And then more broadly, all communities responded to these images and questions about what building types do they see as being highly important for a center. You see those blue kind of tagged images show that the sense of place, the gathering, the activity, the shopping, really creating the heart and place of a center was very important to folks, along with the supporting land uses. I'll kind of skip through these other, but the variety of topics were covered, including shared parking and strategic planning of parking. On-street parking is another important aspect. So all of this information was gathered and then created into these visual resources. I think many of you may have seen some of these images. They were in development during the Wasatch Choice visioning update, the workshops from last fall. We shared some of the images, but the website was not yet ready or completed. So here's the new website, and it provides some basic background information. and then provides a menu of choices for centers at different scales. And you see the top 4 in this upper row are centers that are featured in the Wasatch Choice vision, whereas a few other center types, the small town and the mixed use corridor, are not necessarily featured in the Wasatch Choice vision, but they are applicable statewide and certainly within our region as well. And one of the new aspects that's provided is this kind of iconic vision of, or depiction of, how centers can work together and reinforce each other and relate to other land uses. And so some centers might have a significant amount of economic development or office or employment, whereas another center may not. But that's certainly where transportation is a key component to link, providing different transportation choices to link centers, to link them to employment districts, and connect where people and families live in their homes, and provide more convenient access to services. So we provide a few different contexts of how centers work together in a sub-regional context, and provide that interconnectivity and reinforce each other and create that synergy between centers and supporting land uses to really create local benefits to the community and regional benefits. So also on the landing page of this new website is a webinar that was presented in September of 2024, and it's entitled City and Town Center Menu and Which One is Right for Your Community. And so there's a variety of topics covered there that provide a nice introduction for these images and how they can be used in different discussions. And then down at the bottom of each page is this menu of selecting any center type and downloading all of the graphics that are available. So let's jump into Neighborhood Center, which really is probably the most popular center type across our region that communities have selected. And so you see that there are 4 different options or scenarios: Scenario A, B, C, and D. Each one is described, and the slight differences between each alternative are described. And there's basically some quick definitions provided in terms of the height of the buildings, the number of housing units per acre, other indicators, including what type of transit service might be assumed. And then we get to a little slider, which is a fun way to compare the existing condition on the left and a future scenario on the right. In this case, the existing condition for Neighborhood Center is depicted as a greenfield or new development area. And then we get into some of the close-up images. We start to see specific details of what a center might look like when all the ingredients are combined together. The different housing choices, the different places to gather, and the ground level services and retail, the restaurants, the parking kind of located to the behind the buildings, and on-street parking with little information buttons that provide descriptions of how all these different ingredients combine together. And here's even a close-up shot of just how this little public space and play area interacts with outdoor eating and supports small businesses, and really creates a place that all ages can come together and enjoy gathering and activities in the community. And then also provided are these fun little 3D panoramas. So if I click on this one, for example, I'm able to pan around and just further explore and study and gain different perspective, whether I'm zooming in or out, and just seeing how the different land use elements can work together and are connected with a well-connected street grid and walkable streets and pathways. And plenty of parking, but parking is not the main emphasis. Parking is placed behind the buildings so that the buildings encourage the walking and the biking and the transit use as additional choices. All right, so if I back out and go let's see. To the main menu again. I'll just jump to urban center to show a different scale and type of center that's featured. In this case, we see two different types of urban centers, a scenario A and a B. Each one's slightly different height or range of building intensity. And very similarly, we see existing condition, which in this case is depicted as kind of an aging commercial area that might be in need of some reinvestment, redevelopment opportunity, and then a similar set of images that start to explore what could be within this type of a center and how these different elements work together to create a very vibrant place with lots of activity and opportunities. So with that, I'd just like to conclude by showing a sneak preview of what still needs to be added to the website. And this should be added fairly soon, and that is the beneficial impacts. And so what I'll show briefly some looks at fiscal and economic benefits, infrastructure efficiency, water use efficiency, and the social benefits. And so generally these beneficial impact metrics that will be added to the website will show that with increasing intensity, there is a higher demand for walking and biking and transit use. And certainly with walking, there are benefits, significant health benefits with that active lifestyle. And then also featured will be the sales and property tax revenues per acre. And here they are depicted as basically in comparison to just a standard suburban residential area, noting that we need suburban residential areas, but centers provide more intensity and basically just more land uses and units per acre that add up to create more property tax revenues. And with more people living and working in a center, that generates more spending. And so the point of sale retail increases. And with more residents living, then the state population distribution increases. So you see that in that kind of the blue layer. More residential spending per acre is shown here, which results in new retail demand. This is depicted as retail demand per square foot, or excuse me, new retail demand is square footage per acre. And then we see significant infrastructure efficiency with street and utility costs per unit decreasing and costing less per unit. Outdoor water use is very efficient as the outdoor spaces tend to be more shared and less individually owned. So the outdoor water, which we lose to atmosphere, to the atmosphere through evaporation, that water is much less per unit and per acre in a center. Whereas the indoor water returns to the rivers and lakes after it's treated in the sewer system. And then a little harder to quantify are just the social benefits, the place where you have a large public gathering space, whether it's a designated space or a street that's temporarily converted to an outdoor gathering space. The social benefits of gathering are hard to measure, but certainly really fun to take part in. And this is just an event that I attended last year in Logan as my concluding slide. So I'd be happy to take any questions and comments and appreciate the time today.
Thanks, Tim. Great presentation. Any comments or questions for Tim's presentation?
Yeah, Commissioner Chris Roybal here.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I just want to applaud the team. I think this is a terrific resource for cities. And I guess my question is, and maybe you guys are already way out in front of me, but you know, how can we help, you know, implement this and get this data, you know, in a deeper way to the cities and towns? I know most of the cities that we work with, for example, do not have full-time economic developers. And so it looks like a great resource. We'd be happy to help on the implementation side. I mean, I can think of at least a half a dozen different, you know, town centers that would be new in the area that I work in. And maybe the cities know about this, maybe they don't, but I think it's a terrific resource and would love to kind of spend some time offline with the team and see how this, we could help, implement this, sort of community by community and help them, get educated.
Thank you very much for the comment. And I think WFRC's timing for broadcasting this new website resource is in coordination with some other messaging that is soon to be released. So I might invite John A. or Meg to comment on our efforts to release this publicly.
Sure, I can jump in. Sorry, my connection looks a little delayed. We are in the midst of lots of presentations and distribution of this. We have a lovely fall conference season coming up. So if you're going to the Utah League of Cities and Towns conference, to the Utah Land Use Institute conference, or to APA, we'll be at all of those, getting this information out there. And then we'd love to hear from you if there are venues that you would like to see this in, or methods of distribution. That would be fantastic. But yes, we're doing our best to kind of push it out there. We have a video that will be coming soon for you about centers and directing some folks to this resource. So kind of in the middle of our campaign, consider yourselves part of it.
Chris, I just have a quick follow-up too. Meg and myself and some others were in a meeting this morning trying to figure out how to do and engage with organizations like you, like with the chambers, trying to figure out how to also get this message out, because I think it's twofold, right? It's one, to get it to the cities and towns and communities, but it's another to talk to businesses, because I think businesses will appreciate what cities are trying to do. And so I think it's very much twofold in that engagement as well. So we can follow up definitely with the team after this too, Chris, to see how we can. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how to get this out and engage our communities. I see Stephanie. Stephanie is chomping at the bit to say something, I can see.
No, I just highly agree with what Chris is saying. It really is an issue, and it would be incredibly helpful. So yeah, definitely just second what Chris is saying.
I saw Kirsten Swinyard on here earlier. I don't know if you have any comments with the communities you work with. Maybe she's not on here anymore. Yep, there she is.
I am here, and I think the communities are always interested in that technical assistance as well. We have kind of a broad spectrum of capacity amongst the cities in Salt Lake County, but certainly I've heard from some of the smaller communities they would welcome that type of involvement.
Great. Hey, David, just curious too, from David Sawyer from Ogden City. I mean, is it easier to help people understand what you're trying to do and what you're trying to go for, and the elected officials or planning commissions, not me included, but I'm just kidding. But do you think that would be helpful, the visualization of these tools and what it could be?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we tell our stories, but to have this kind of resources to supplement and to introduce and to show that it's not just stuff we're talking about, but we're applying it and learning from communities across the spectrum, across Utah, is very helpful.
Okay, sorry, Commissioner, one more. Chris Sloan, you're on too from a development side or real estate side. Do you think this is a helpful tool to have people understand what communities are trying to accomplish? And
I apologize, I joined late. What I saw of the last 10 minutes of the presentation, absolutely.
Okay.
Any tool that we add to that toolbox right now is going to be helpful.
Great. I won't call out anybody else, but maybe in the next section we will.
Marsha, I might just add that there's been a lot of effort applied to these visualizations to show a gradual transition from existing single-family residential areas to become gradually more intense or taller buildings and not an abrupt interface between the two. And that can be, I think, a helpful reference point in planning commission, council meetings, et cetera, to understand how thoughtful land use planning can make for compatibility between centers and existing or planned residential areas.
Good comment. All right, Commissioner Flora, I'll quit talking. I'll
Hey,
quit
no.
asking questions.
No, that's great. So let me just say, Tim, great presentation. I agree with Chris. I think there's a lot of opportunity we have in not only the larger communities, but some of our smaller communities. One thing he hit on was the revenue side, which I think every city or town, regardless of size, is always looking at revenue. Sales tax, how can they increase sales tax, hold property taxes at the same level? The efficiencies of water, other efficiencies you mentioned. I just think that's a great tool that I know that Chris and his group, Northern Utah Economic Development through Weber and Davis, are more than proficient and able to spread that word. I think this should be a tool to every planning commission out there, and let them, see that the possibilities. And I love the transition from, not everybody has to have a 8-story high-rise building as a town center. They could start off small. You take a town as small as Huntsville, perfect example of where, and they actually have some type of a town center now, but how do they develop that community sense and generate sales tax revenue? Huntsville actually is actively trying to look at that right now. So I think we have a great opportunity to spread this message, and it would benefit a great deal of these local communities. So Tim, thank you very much for that presentation. Marcia, any last words before we move on?
Nope, I think you should keep moving on because I'm sure I'll have other call outs soon.
All right, great. Thanks very much. Okay, thanks for those. Hope if you have any questions, Tim, will you be able to share that presentation with this committee, or you gonna wait till Meg's ready to basically make it public? Can you answer that?
I'm happy to provide it.
It will go out in
Yeah,
a follow-up
there-
email.
Great. There you go, Chris. You got it coming, Stephanie, your group. Okay, with that, let's move on to our Wasatch Choice progress dashboard. We all know how important Wasatch Choice has been with our group over the last few years. We'll call it the Big Five. Julia Barnstead, Long Range Planning Deputy Director for WFRC. I think she's going to turn the time over to Bert Granberg this morning, but he's going to talk about one of the key tasks we have in the CEDS is the creation of that baseline data dashboard, dealing with the Wasatch Choice progress report. Several key metrics that we've actually talked about and worked on over the past year. And I'm assuming that Bert's going to kind of go through that, give us a progress report on the overall progress we've made with the Wasatch Choice and what impact we've had on the local community. So with that, Bert, I'm going to turn the time over to you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Saw you in the hallway yesterday at UAC on my way to meet with your new county assessor and that crew, but good to see you again.
Well, good for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So as Commissioner Farrar mentioned, I'm pinch hitting here for Julie Bjornstad, who leads our performance monitoring efforts at WFRC. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Wasatch Choice vision, just to intro this, and then we'll get into the heart of this, and hopefully this will be a fairly short agenda item, followed by maybe some good discussion. This is a presentation we gave to the Regional Growth Committee a couple weeks ago. So apologies if you were there for that, just to see it and are seeing it for a second time. But as we've mentioned already numerous times today, we've got a great regional vision, the Wasatch Choice vision, with the tagline, Utah's growing and we have a plan. We see that vision expressed in the Wasatch Choice interactive map, which shows us how all the elements of the vision, transportation being a primary element, and land use and some of the amenities around the region come together. So the vision map is showing sort of what what 2050 might look like if we get our planning and execution right. Behind the Wasatch Choice vision, of course, are the key strategies, providing transportation choices, housing options becoming even more important, parks and public spaces, and then, as Tim just reflected on, working on building and growing city and town centers. And I'm just going to say, as a fellow staff member, hats off to that team. It's just those resources. It's been fun to watch them come together. They're really amazing. So how are we doing? We've got a vision in place. We've got key strategies. We've got maps of what the 2050 looks like. The one thing that we're trying to get to and spend more time with is monitoring progress. And that's where we get to what we've been calling in the office the big 5 measures. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to find key metrics that speak to those strategies, how we're doing over time. We want it to be a small set. We want people to be able to understand them easily. For sure, we want them focused on our key areas that WFRC is involved in, so transportation and the integration with land use. And we do a lot of work with this. We make a lot of maps and tools. We do a lot of projecting, looking forward. But one of the things we haven't been doing is measuring and tracking these key indicators over time, so we can see how we're doing relative to a baseline. So that's the heart of this effort. And then the last point, is we want people to be able to see these measures in their own communities, but also at a region-wide level, at a county level. And so we're trying to produce something that's simple, but has power at different geographic levels. So see if I can conjure up a drum roll or something in your imagination. But these are the big 5 measures that we have sort of developed and are proposing as a set that would be our primary metrics, to that primary small set of metrics that we would monitor over time. The first one is access to opportunities. And we would do this with a workplace measure. So it would be the average number of job opportunities that are available to a household in the region within a typical commute. So that's access to opportunities.
Bert,
transportation. Yeah.
are you wanting to show us these?
You can't see my slides?
No.
Oh my goodness.
You said drum
No.
roll, and I was like, okay, we're about to see some slides. Sorry,
Good point.
Bert. I should have told you earlier.
No, it's okay. My screen is all highlit like it is being shared with you. So let's try something else.
Is everyone else not seeing them as well? Okay.
I think it's coming up. There we go, Bert. Coming up
Okay.
now.
All right.
Thanks, Meg.
Yeah, save me. Okay. So I mentioned access to opportunities, the average number of job opportunities that are available to a household in the region, the average household in the region within a typical commute. The second one is transportation choices, the percentage of residents that can access a frequent transit service within a 10-minute walk. And so that's a bus service that runs more than or at least 4 times an hour every 15 minutes, or any of the rail-based transit service in the region. The third one is affordability. And the way we look at this is something that's been in the news lately. It's the cost of housing for households plus their daily transportation costs. The fourth one is park availability, and this is measured as the percentage of residents within a 10-minute walk to parks, trailheads, or trails, or other public spaces. And the last one relates to what Tim was just talking about, which is the strengths of our centers, and it's the percentage of homes and jobs within the region that are located in these city and town centers. So hopefully this big 5 set of metrics makes sense to you all. I've got a couple more slides, and then I'll just ask for any questions or comments about whether you think these things work. We've been preparing the data. We've got it almost ready to go. but we did think it made sense to check in with all the committees to make sure that folks like these measures, like the direction that we were on. So just diving in to give you a little bit of more detail, I just picked the access to parks metric within the Big Five. And you can see that for each of these metrics, in addition to the dashboard kind of view that I just showed you, we'll have a page that describes in detail what it is, how it's measured, why it's important, and then provides a trend line or a graph showing how it's changing over the years, in this case, as parks, trails, trailheads get added, but also as our population grows in different areas. And then you'll see like at the top where you can change the geography from the whole WFRC region, or select a county or a city, and the metrics will repopulate. And as I mentioned, this isn't really different from what we've been doing. We've been more focused on current conditions. So for the parks and trails access, we have an interactive map that shows the current conditions. It's in the data's in a GIS format. It's ready to look at any community level. The difference with this Big Five project is that we'll plan to track it over time. And I think we can start going back 5, 7 years or so, and then we'll just commit to going monitoring that going forward and reporting back periodically how we're doing. And then we actually have a phase 2 of this project planned. And I'm showing an example from the Philadelphia MPO, where they've taken, they've basically built a larger set of metrics. So our approach is to lead with the Big Five, and then to develop a set of secondary metrics that are either related to the Big Five, or provide other important information about the region. So after we've finished the dashboard with the Big Five and the associated web pages, we'll dive into adding more secondary metrics and other, in particular, economic development metrics to the dashboard. Okay, so that's kind of what I wanted to show you. And if there's time available, it'd be great to get anyone's feedback who'd like to contribute. What do you think about these 5 metrics? Do they speak to what's important in the region, and what success with a vision looks like? Is there anything missing? What do you all think?
Now's your time, committee, to talk to them. So Bert, let me just, I can mention, I've been pretty actively following the Wasatch Choice vision. It's great to see that you're looking at some type of metric that we can justify it, but obviously transportation and housing are kind of the key components of that. But I'm glad, you have to add the outside recreation trails, et cetera, which it looks like you have. And then obviously with the presentation that Tim gave us, I think the centers really become, town centers or city centers become critical to making sure that really all the other 4 components of the Big Five have the ability to be measured and we can track them. So in my opinion, I think you're headed the right direction on this. And did you say that this could be broken down by county, by city?
That's correct.
How's the ability for an individual city or town to go in and see how they stack up?
Yeah, the idea is that we can gather the data at a more granular level so that it lets us allow people to drill down if they would like to see sort of what the trend line is for their particular city. It would be tough to do it at a finer grain level than that, but we think for most of these metrics, we can support it at a city level.
Oh, that'd be great. Okay. Any questions or other comments?
Commissioner, it looks like
Bert, go ahead.
What about, I'm not sure how you'd measure it though, just in terms of overall strength of utility infrastructure, whether we're talking water, sewer, electricity, is that something that could be measured?
Yeah, I mean, I would say potentially that's something that right up right up everyone's interests, and that's part of a lot of the policy discussions that are going on right now. I'm not sure I have a clear understanding for how we would, what data we
Yeah.
would gather, whether people would share it with us, but it's something that's like, we got to keep on the radar, because that's obviously part of the housing policy discussion right now. So I think that's one we need to do a little bit more thinking on. And if you have any specific thoughts, I'd love to catch them maybe offline.
Okay.
I'd just like to chime in and say that I really like that you've added park availability, because what I've been tracking for a little while in the surrounding areas to where I'm at is that with the push to get housing in, it does create an expense for the infrastructure, which was just mentioned. And just to build on to that, we at least have impact fees that can help support some of that. What we don't have is park money. Parks are hard to get built when you have high infrastructure costs, because obviously they have to come first. So I've been really working on that problem a few different angles. And so I'm really glad that you mentioned that park availability, because if you look at the state as a whole, one of the things we've been known for is the quality of life. And we're starting to lose that a little bit when we push so hard on the housing without keeping the green space part of it. So just a thought. So I'm really glad that metric's in there, because as we build out, town centers, neighborhood centers, this kind of thing, we've got to figure out how we pay for the park element.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great comment. The Wasatch Choice vision is about maintaining overall quality of life in our region, and parks they're a key strategy, and that's why we've chosen to highlight them at the Big Five sort of metric level.
So expensive. The impact with it.
I think there's
a hand. Yeah, Sarah.
I was just going to add, and I don't know if it fits into here with the measurement tools that you need, but it seems like there should be an acknowledgement in that strength of centers to go along with what everyone else said on quality of life, like the access within those centers to things that create sense of place for a community. So event activation, arts and culture opportunity, dining, all of those elements that come along within the centers, but calling out that access so that it's a focus for especially arts and culture being such an impactful piece of that.
Good point. Again,
great
one
comment.
Of the parts to fund. But I totally agree and have the same issue, same challenge, and same work. We're working on that same thing. So.
Yeah, I mean, around the office, arts and culture is obviously many things. Sometimes we distill it down to, is there a nice place to go get an ice cream cone and sit down with your family and friends and enjoy the place? It's more than that, but that's definitely part of the concept within centers that we're promoting.
Placemaking.
There was and it goes along with this. Trina also asked how feasible it would be to gather that same kind of data, human scale, pedestrian environments, benches, shade structures, those kind of things, and elements that contribute to that. So just goes along with what Sarah was just saying.
Right.
Perfect. Anybody else? Great comments. Appreciate you weighing in on that.
Commissioner, I'm just going to say that watching and being part of this group and watching them try to build this out has not been easy. We know that if it's not measured, it's not managed, and they really recognize that. But what they also recognize is that we need to make it be able to transcend years. If we get a new neighborhood center, then how do we add that? And, so it has been a lot of conversations back and forth. And so you just think it's an easy piece just to put some data out there, but really, really being very thoughtful in how they're looking at this and thoughtful about different, for instance, Ogden doesn't have maybe we don't have as much park space or availability because we're a built out city, where somewhere like maybe Lehigh has a lot more ability to do that. And so really being thoughtful on how to measure this, not just within one city, but a county and within other cities and counties. So although it seems like it's an easy task, they've done a great job of pushing through some of those challenges. So thanks, Bert, for doing that.
Yeah, and thanks for the feedback. It sounds like there's generally like support. We'll keep moving on it, and I'll report back on some of the suggestions to Julie, and we'll figure out what to do next. We hope to have
That's great.
the Big Five dashboard up and running later this year.
That'd be great. Looking forward to seeing that. I'm glad that you added trails to your park availability, because I think as Sarah mentioned and everybody else, it's great to talk about housing and transportation, but when you really look at the communities that benefit from that, look at Washington County, St. George with their trails, look at what they do up in Park City and other areas across, in Idaho with their trails, really drive those communities when they have access to active trail transportation, walking, bikes, etc. So I don't think we can, especially since, northern Utah especially is kind of recognized as the outdoor environment, that we can't downplay how important that is to our communities. So appreciate your efforts, Bert.
All right, thank you.
Okay, let's move on if it's all right. No other questions. Let's move on to our next agenda item, which is the WFRC funding programs. Meg's still with us, WFRC Community and Economic Development Director. She's going to talk about several funding opportunities that comes through the WFRC that we'd like to share with you. Then you can take back to your particular communities, whatever organization you work with, and make sure that you're well informed on potential funding, since that's something that becomes important to all of us. So Meg, I'm going to turn the time over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And because my colleague Bert is not prone to technical difficulties, I want to check. Can you see my slides?
Yes. We can.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's usually I'm following his lead when it comes to technical anything. Okay, so I want to talk to you really briefly about funding programs available through the Wasatch Front Regional Council. We love to talk about these anytime, but particularly right now, we have some application cycles upcoming for many of these programs. So I'm going to talk about all of the programs offered by WFRC, and then I'll talk about timeline for those that have deadlines coming up soon. First, we have capital transportation improvement programs. So there are 4 different programs that fund transportation projects, the first of which is the Surface Transportation Program. This is the largest of the 4. It provides funding that can be used for projects on federally eligible roads, transit capital improvements, and active transportation improvements. The Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Program funds projects that improve air quality, and Carbon Reduction Program is similar. It funds transportation projects that reduce on-road carbon dioxide emissions. Finally, of these 4, the Transportation Alternatives Program funds construction and planning of bicycle and pedestrian facilities. Ben Withrich in our office is the program lead for these. You can reach out to him if you want some clarity about eligibility or to find out more about what which program your project may fit into. Next, we have planning assistance programs. I barely have to talk about the Transportation and Land Use Connection Program because it funds planning for all the things we've been talking about in this meeting so far. If your community, or if you're working with a community who would like to better get a more detailed plan for their center, like Tim talked about, if you want to do some quality of life planning, like we talked about with the dashboard, what really makes what really is a measure of a place, what makes it great. We can do some planning in that space. Anything that relates to our Wasatch Choice vision, which you know well, and implements plans for the community. That's what we can do through the Transportation and Land Use Connection Program. The capital improvement programs and the TLC program that I just talked about, those are the programs with upcoming deadlines. So keep that in mind I'm going to talk about our other programs as well. Station area planning is also technical assistance we can provide. Most communities by now, if they have an obligation to do a station area plan, according to state code, they know it, but these are communities that are within a half mile of a fixed rail stop, so tracks, streetcar, or front runner, or a quarter mile within a bus rapid transit line that has its own guideway. So these communities have obligations, some by 2025 and some have a little more time to do a station area plan. We have technical assistance for that ongoing through the end of the year. You can apply anytime. Contact me if you want to hear more about either of these. I realize I'm giving you the skinny right now, but I just want to make you aware of upcoming opportunities, and then we have lots more detail we can provide. There are other federal grants administered through the Wasatch Regional Council, the first of which is our Community Development Block Grant Program for small cities. This is administered for those areas shown on this map that are kind of highlighted. So Tooele County, Morgan County, and parts of, well, all of Weber County, but for Ogden. The rest of the areas in our region are entitlement communities, so they administer their own CDBG. CDBG is a federal grant program. It provides funding for low and moderate income communities and primarily funds capital infrastructure projects. We have lots of examples. Reach out if you're in these communities and you want to talk more about that. Next is the Community Impact Board program. That can be applied for at any time in the year. CIB can fund planning and infrastructure projects in Morgan and Tooele counties only. So some of these are specific to certain areas. If you're ever curious about which programs are eligible where, just reach out. Christy Dahlberg in our shop is the lead for both CDBG and CIB. Finally, the Wasatch Front Economic Development District has EDA funding, access to EDA funding. So EDA funding, the kind of rule of thumb is job creation. So there are lots of different grants available through EDA. Marcia can certainly talk with you if you think you have a project that is eligible for EDA funding. And we'd love to do more of those. So reach out to Marcia. She's the lead on that one. Again, different deadlines all the time with different EDA opportunities. Let's look at a timeline here. It's September. At the end of this month, our letters of intent are due for the programs shown on the screen. So those are our capital transportation improvement programs and the TLC program for planning technical assistance. Once those letters of intent come in, we take them, our staff, we go through them, we trade them back and forth in case they've found the wrong program and there's another program that the project may be eligible for. And then we make an invitation to apply in October. Applications to these programs will be due in December. So once you receive that invitation to apply, applications are due, I think, December 11th. There's a program packet that's out now. It has all of the detail about all of these programs. It looks like that. Lots and lots of words, more than I'm saying here now. Links to the program information and links to the letter of intent form that you'll fill out. I've also put our contacts here on the screen in case you need to reach out to any of us. Reach out to one, we'll get you to the right person. Don't worry. You're welcome to ask any questions you may have now as well. I should mention, because this committee is a little different from some of our other committees, cities and counties are eligible for these programs I'm mentioning here. But for many of them, you may be able to talk to a city and county in which a project would be applicable and partner. So still worth knowing. Are there any questions, if I may, Chair?
Any questions for Meg?
Okay, clear as mud.
Okay, Megan, thanks for that. Appreciate that information. I'm assuming that everybody's received the information, so if they want to fill out the application, they can at this point in time, or will sometime this month. Great. Okay, thanks very much. Marcia, had anything to add to that since you are EDA expert?
No, we need to push out some economic development administration projects. So if you want to expand jobs, if you want to expand in your area, let me know. I will help you do whatever I can to get some more EDA funding for sure.
Yeah, that's a great source, great grant program that Marcia runs. So take advantage of it while you can. All right, Marcia, anything else before we move on?
No, Commissioner, we have Kirsten has a question for you. Her hand's raised.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, apologies if you mentioned this, Meg or Marcia, and I missed it, but really curious about the EDA money that WFRC has access to. Is this, are you guys keeping an eye on new NOFOs, or are these allocations that come to you because you are the AOC? Just curious, or AOG?
AOG.
Whatever,
AOG.
yes.
To answer that, yeah, and Marion might be a better person, but we have every AOG gets a grant from the EDA to help fund a technical assistant planning person, I guess, over that 3-year period. And then what we do is, because we have, and hopefully have developed the CEDS in a way that if there are EDA NOFOs, like the planning grants, technical assistant grants, construction grants, that we can help you apply, and then it would go directly to you. It doesn't come through WFRC.
Marcia, just one clarification. It's not because we're an AOG. It's because we are an EDA sanctioned economic development district. So that
thank you.
Being an
The
economic
EDD,
development district,
yeah,
the EDD, it gives you access to some of the EDA funds are limited to EDDs. So we don't necessarily get formula money automatically when there's new opportunities. We get those NOFOs, and we can help our communities within our EDD access them.
perfect. I'll follow up with you guys with a few more questions. Thank you.
Thanks for that question, Kirsten. Marcia, back to you, if anything.
Yeah, I'm hoping that, I'll be quick here, but, trying to give you an idea of today's agenda was just to try to show you where we've been, trying to show you what we're trying to do and bring to communities, what we're going to try to track, and really getting your information as far as if we're doing the right thing on the tracking. And then lastly, trying to show you that we do have some of these other opportunities through funding, through some of those funding opportunities to help you actually go back to doing all the things that we hope that you want to do. So that was kind of the layout of our agenda today, Commissioner, and hopefully that's what came across.
I hope so. I think it was great. Those 2 programs we talked about were great. I think we're all excited to see those happening. And I would just say, based on Meg's presentation, if a lot of people out there like me, they probably don't take the time to go through and see which peg might fit in the right hole in terms of this funding. But I can tell you this, between Meg and her staff down there, if you have an idea or some area that you think you could choose money, call Meg, call the staff, and they could point you in the right direction. Don't hesitate. Meg, I hate to put you on the spot, but I think that they'll be able to direct you to the right grant, the right form, so you know that the opportunity exists to put in applications for these grants. So I'd encourage everybody to do that with their respective communities.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Okay, thanks very much. All right, appreciate everybody in attendance today. We're a little over an hour and 10 minutes. Appreciate it. I think we're looking at our agenda to try to keep it actually under an hour and a half, and we were able to accomplish that today. So I appreciate our presenters, appreciate those that were online. Our next meeting, however, will be on Thursday, December 11th, coming up. Be here before you know it. And Marcia will let you know whether we're going to do it in person or back to Zoom. So we'll just kind of see how the weather plays out and everybody else. So with that, our last action item is I'd entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Looks like Sean, we have a second.
Second.
And we got a second. Non-debatable. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thanks. We're adjourned. Thanks very much for being with us today.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Grandpa.